All right, 2.5, if-then statements and deductive reasoning. So an if-then statement is a statement that has two parts. The if part contains the hypothesis, and the then part contains the conclusion. So example, if the team wins the semifinal, then the team will play in the championship. My example, if the weatherman says it's going to be rainy, then I'm going to bring my umbrella. So let's identify the hypothesis and conclusion of the if statement. What color did I use? Oops, I should make these different colors. Okay, so I'm going to highlight the hypothesis. So if I pass the driving test, so I pass the driving test. Then, all right, so conclusions, whatever follows the then, I will get my driver's license. So you can write that out. Hypothesis is I pass the driving test. And then the conclusion is going to be whatever follows the then. I will get my driver's license. All right, rewrite the statement as an if-then statement, then underline the hypothesis, circle the conclusion. Every game on my computer is fun to play. Okay, so I need to have an if-then statement. So I can say, if there is a game on my computer, then it's going to be fun to play. Going to be, oops, fun to play. I wrote a little too big. So I need to underline the hypothesis, circle the conclusion. So if there's a game on my computer, then it's going to be fun to play. I will buy the CD if it costs me less than $15. Oh, it literally wrote the word if for us. So I could say if it costs less than $15. Okay, it's what? If what costs less than 15? Oh, okay, I see. The CD. So we can't have the pronoun without the antecedent. I don't want the pronoun it without having the noun first. So I could say if the CD costs less than $15. Okay, what's going to happen? Oh, okay, then I will buy the CD. Then I will buy it. I can say then I'll buy it. So CD costs less than $15. I'm going to buy it. A shape has 5 sides if it is a pentagon. Okay, so this tells you what should be the first part. If it's a pentagon. If what's a pentagon? Oh, okay, a shape. So we could say if a shape is a pentagon. So the way they wrote it, you gotta follow the way the sentence is structured. I literally have the word if, and you gotta put whatever's following that if as the hypothesis, because we're writing if-then statements, so I already gave you what should be in the if statement. If a shape is a pentagon, then it has 5 sides. Then it has 5 sides. Okay, so a shape is a pentagon, it'll have 5 sides. So deductive reasoning uses facts, definitions, accepted properties, laws of logic to make a logical argument. This form of reasoning differs from inductive reasoning, in which previous examples and patterns are used to form a conjecture. So you always hear of deductive reasoning with like Sherlock. I don't know if you guys ever watched any of the adaptations where he looks at one small piece of evidence and then just goes off on this crazy guess that always turns out to be true. That's deductive. Versus inductive is what we try to do with class, right? We try to look at examples and patterns. That way we can have you form a conjecture based on like lots and lots of examples. Versus deductive, maybe you don't see the patterns, but it's a bunch of facts that we know, so we're just going to follow the logic. All right, so we have 2 laws of logic we're going to focus on, law of detachment and law of syllogism. So law of detachment has 3 parts, all right? And the first part has to be true. So first part says, if P, then Q. So if the weatherman, so this like statement has to be true, right? If the weatherman says it's going to rain, then I'll bring an umbrella. I have to make sure that's true, right? If he's going to say it's going to rain and I don't bring out my umbrella, then like that's false. So like the conditional has to be true. You have to be willing to do the second part if the first part's true. And then the second part of the law of detachment says, oh, guess what? P is true. Oh, this morning it said it's going to be stormy, it's going to rain. So therefore, what's going to happen? Well, that means that based on these 2, if the whole conditional is true, meaning if the weatherman says it's going to rain, am I going to bring my umbrella? Yep, I've decided that's what I'm going to do. And this morning, the weatherman said it's going to rain. So therefore, I must bring my umbrella. Therefore, Q is true. So all these problems, when I ask you, it's just like, okay, that means Q is true. I'm going to go over the problems with detachment first, and then I'll come back to syllogism. So law of detachment. What can you conclude from the following statements? All right, so this part's true. If you wash a t-shirt in hot water, it's going to shrink. Okay, cool. So I know this is the consequence. Uh-oh, guess what? You're washing it in hot water, so therefore we can conclude that the cotton t-shirt will shrink. That means the second part is like going to happen. Now that the first part has happened, we know the second part's going to happen. The cotton t-shirt will shrink. That's just the law of detachment. You know, if Q, then P, okay, we said that's true, and then this is Q is true, so therefore this is P. These are just Q and P are standing for the whole like hypothesis and conclusion. All right, if X has a value of 7, then 2X minus 3 has a value of 11. Guess what? X has a value of 7, so therefore we can conclude that 2X minus 3 is going to have a value of 11, right? 2X minus 3 will equal 11. Lastly, if you study for at least 2 hours, then you'll pass the test. Okay, so this is what we deemed to be true. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It depends on the class that you're talking about. But we've deemed that, you know what, this is probably true, especially for this class. If you study for 2 hours, you know, I'm pretty sure you'll pass the test if you have been following along in class and watching the screencast and doing your homework. Like, if you've been doing everything what you're supposed to the whole time and then you go study for 2 hours, you're probably going to be passing the test because you already know how to show work. So we have the conditional, right? We say, okay, you know what? That's true. You'll definitely pass if you study for 2 hours. Then you go and study for 3 hours, which means this first part is true. You've studied for at least 2. Therefore, we can conclude that the conclusion will happen. You will pass the test. You will pass the test. All right, that's just a law of detachment. You're just saying that the conclusion is going to be happening. All right, the law of syllogism. If P, then Q. If Q, then R. So it follows that we can just skip the middleman and say if P, then Q. Okay, so let's see what this means. If the highly daily temperature is 32 degrees or less, the water in the pipe is going to be frozen. If the water in the pipe is frozen, then the pipe will break. So if the daily high temperature is 32 or less, that means the pipe's going to break. Right? We're just following the chain. It's almost like a chain. Right? If you have a bunch of like chain link all together, if you pull on the first chain link, it's going to pull all the rest. So because this first one was true, right? The water in the pipe will be frozen if the daily high temperature is 32 or less. That means, ooh, the pipe's going to break. So we can skip all the middleman and say if the daily high temp is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or less, the pipe will break. Then the pipe will break. I'm just like skipping and writing this exact thing. Similarly, if the ball is thrown at the window, it will hit the window. If the ball hits the window, it's going to break the window. So skip the middleman and write out this portion of it. Right? And notice I'm linking the thing like it will hit the window if it hits the window. Those are the exact same words. So the homework was a little bit crazy because there were somewhere that were not in order where you had to figure that out, which one would be first. So if the ball is thrown at the window, then the window will break. Okay, so that's it for the screencast. I'll see you next time.